I received a lady who came to try on wedding dresses. While chatting, I noticed that her diamond ring was the same as mine. She said her husband's name was Mark, an artist who only knew how to mess around with paints all day. My husband's name was also Mark, and he was also an artist. Later, when I filed for divorce, I discovered that the name on his marriage certificate was another woman's. Chapter 1. My husband doesn't come to accompany me, so I have to choose alone. I don't know which one to pick. Can you help me? The woman in front of me kept complaining about her husband as soon as she walked in, but I could hear the sweetness in her tone. But when I saw the diamond ring on her hand, the same as mine, I froze in place, feeling a chill. Wasn't this the ring Mark had specially made abroad? Could it be the same style? The reflection of the diamond ring's light stung my eyes, and my heart pounded. A woman's intuition told me it wasn't that simple. I pretended to ask casually, "Ms. Lou, what does your husband do?" "He's an artist. He spends all his time in the studio." "An artist?" "My husband is also an artist." The same profession and the same ring. My mind exploded. I swallowed nervously. Do you have a picture of your husband? The bride's dress should match the groom's outfit for a harmonious look. As soon as I finished speaking, the woman eagerly picked up her phone to search for a photo. "Oh, actually, we've been married for years. We just wanted to take some photos to commemorate. Let me show you. This is our wedding photo." I quickly glanced with my eyes. My hand holding the phone started to tremble, and my hair stood on end. This is Mark, my husband of 5 years. This was taken in Shangri-La, Yunnan. Our child is already 1 year old. This time, we want to go to Xinjiang for a shoot. My husband thinks it's perfect for his portraits, and our family can go together. She smiled gently, chattering about her hopes, like a naive young girl, and the little boy in the photo looked exactly like Mark. I couldn't control myself and collapsed to the ground, tears streaming down my face. "Hey, are you okay? Someone help." She fell. Chapter 2. My mind went blank. I reached out and grabbed Caroline's arm tightly, gasping for air. It turned out that Mark had betrayed me when we were dating. We've been married for 5 years, and he has a 1-year-old child with someone else. I felt like the most ridiculous person in the world. "Someone, quick, call an ambulance. She's bleeding." A sticky, red liquid flowed from beneath me, and the intense pain in my abdomen was suffocating. This was the last thing I heard before passing out. "You finally woke up. You almost scared me to death. You are really too dedicated. Working in high heels while pregnant." Pregnant? Am I carrying Mark's child? No wonder I had been feeling so weak and nauseous these past few days. "The doctor said you are just a month along and need to take good care of yourself." Caroline's words were interrupted by the ringing of her phone, and I saw a photo of her and Mark on the screen. "I sent Uncle Wang to pick you up from the bridal shop. We're going to the Japanese restaurant on the west side tonight." She accidentally pressed the speakerphone, and I heard the voice I would remember for the rest of my life. "I'm not at the bridal shop. I'm at the First People's Hospital." "What happened? Caro? Are you okay? Why are you at the hospital?" "I'll be right there." I could hear the concern in his voice through the phone, and I could even imagine the anxious look on Mark's face. "Honey, I'm fine. I'm just here with someone else." As soon as she finished speaking, I heard Mark breathe a sigh of relief on the other end. "Okay. I'll head off then. Take care of yourself, okay?" Caroline said goodbye to me and left. I couldn't hold back anymore and started crying uncontrollably, nearly collapsing. It felt like a part of my heart was missing, the pain suffocating. That was definitely Mark's voice. I couldn't be mistaken, but I still didn't want to believe it until I saw it with my own eyes. I wouldn't give up. I followed Caroline to the underground parking lot, and after a while, a man walked up to her. I saw clearly. It was Mark. Chapter 3. He skillfully pulled her into his arms, and Caroline playfully said, "You didn't spend time with me today, so you owe me a gift." Her tone was soft yet slightly domineering, completely different from how I usually was. Seeing this scene, I felt a lump in my throat and couldn't say a word, letting my body slowly slide down the wall. I couldn't control myself and started vomiting on the ground, my face covered in tears and saliva. When I got home, I sent him a message to come back. He almost immediately called me. I hung up, and he called again. I kept hanging up. 10 minutes later, I heard the sound of him unlocking the door. What's wrong, honey? What's so urgent? Mark's face was pale, his eyes nervously darting around. He rushed over and hugged me as soon as he entered, not even taking off his shoes. Thinking of how he was just flirting with another woman, I grabbed the trash can and started vomiting. The physical and mental torment I endured that day was unbearable, and I cried out loud. His face changed drastically, and he held me in a panic. Andrea, what's wrong? Let's go to the hospital, now. Slap. I used all my strength to deliver that slap. We're getting a divorce. As soon as the words left my mouth, I realized we never officially registered our marriage. We only took a few photos together, not even wearing wedding clothes. Chapter 4. We've known each other for 8 years and have been in love for 5. These 5 years have brought me unprecedented happiness. The bits and pieces of these 5 years even made me forget that we weren't legally married. Now I understand that I am the pathetic third party. The sour feeling in my heart couldn't be suppressed. Mark's face turned slightly as I slapped him, and he looked at me in shock. He didn't understand why my attitude had suddenly changed, but he still patiently tried to comfort me. Andrea, can you tell me what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? He always comforted me like this, no matter how unreasonable I was. I almost screamed. You and Caroline have a child. She went to pick out your anniversary wedding dress today. You even took her to my favorite Japanese restaurant. Do I need to go on? Saying these few sentences already exhausted me. I hugged my arms tightly, squatted down, and tried not to make a sound, but the sobbing couldn't be stopped. He grabbed my hand, desperately trying to explain. Believe me, it's not what you think. Andrea, let me explain. She and I are just... What? Are you still going to lie to me? Why didn't you tell me? Why did you deceive me? You were already married. Why didn't you tell me? After saying this, I felt my throat tighten, unable even to cry out. Mark's expression changed drastically, his voice becoming hoarse. Andrea, I had my reasons. As soon as he said that, it felt like a giant hand squeezed my heart, and the pain swept through my entire body. Get out. I never want to see you again. Mark knelt beside me numbly, opened his mouth, and ultimately said nothing. It seems to be true. Mark indeed married Caroline, and they even have a child. Chapter 5. My first meeting with Mark was at school. I accidentally kicked over his paints while walking, and we exchanged contact information. Since then, he remained a quiet presence in my WeChat contacts. After graduation, I unexpectedly ran into him at an art exhibition, and he began to pursue me fiercely. He sent flowers, gifts, and painted exclusive portraits of me, making me feel loved for the first time. Those 2 years together were the happiest days of my life. I believed in him and in his plans for our future. From then on, he worked even harder, pushing himself like a tireless spinning top. He drank with investors to the point of causing a gastric bleed to secure a better exhibit spot. With his weak stomach, I cooked and delivered meals to him every day. My life gradually filled with mundane tasks, but I enjoyed it. He needed a quieter place to create, so I earned money to rent a better studio for him. I believed he loved me and that he would succeed. Later, we really did succeed. His artwork sold for astronomical prices, and the gifts he gave me became more and more luxurious. That day, when I saw the ring in his hand, I burst into tears. This is custom made from abroad, symbolizing my unique love for you. Mark proposed to me, and I accepted. I brought up the idea of registering our marriage, but he brushed it off with his busy work schedule. Oh, come on. There's nothing to worry about. For such an important matter, we should pick a good day to register. This kept getting delayed, and the good day to register never came. Now, he has branded me as the third party. Andrea, believe me, I was really forced. Mark squeezed my arm tightly, lowering his voice. Her father is a renowned painter in the industry. His recommendation can help me succeed faster. That painting her wouldn't have done so well without Caroline. I have everything today because of her. Why not seize this opportunity? You should understand me. That painting her depicted the scene of Mark meeting me for the first time. I never thought Mark would use that painting as a ladder to climb higher. Chapter 6. My nose tingled, and tears I had been holding back fell immediately. So, when you asked me to abort the child, was it because she was pregnant? You kept delaying registering our marriage. Did you already do it with her? My chest felt like a giant stone was crushing it, and I frantically tore at him. Why didn't you tell me you were married? Why did you deceive me? Mark, are you even human? Mark didn't get angry despite me tearing his shirt. Instead, he knelt down with a thud. It's okay. You and she will never meet again. I won't let her appear in front of you. We can continue like this. I've given you everything. You don't have to care about a title. At that moment, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Is this still Mark? Do you know what you're saying? Are you crazy? You want me to continue being the third party? I tried to control my emotions, but it was futile. Mark opened his mouth but said nothing, clearly admitting it. At that moment, I couldn't hold on any longer. Helplessness and despair churned within me. I told Mark to get out, knowing I was emotionally unstable. He tried to calm me down before leaving. I didn't want to stay for another moment and began packing. But then I noticed the jade bracelet in the safe was missing. It was the only thing my mother left me. I called Mark, and when the call connected, it was Caroline who answered. Her voice hinted at displeasure. Who are you? Why are you calling my husband? Why is he saved as wife in his contacts? At that moment, I felt like I had fallen into an icy pit, my hand trembling as I held the phone. It turned out Mark always had two phones. Chapter 7. Hey! Say something. What is your relationship with my husband? Facing her questioning, I opened my mouth but couldn't utter a single word. I didn't have the courage to explain, nor did I have the courage to ask her where my mother's keepsake had gone. I quickly hung up the phone, even fearing she might call back, and I blocked Mark's number. I felt ashamed for interfering in their relationship, but I also felt wronged. Why can't I be happy? Who will compensate me for my 5 years? My father died in a car accident when I was young, leaving just my mother and me, but fate was cruel. After I graduated from college, my mother was diagnosed with cancer. I still remember her words before she passed away. Andrea, as long as you're safe and happy, that's all that matters to me. You and Mark should take care of each other. But now, Mark, who married me 5 years ago, has a 1-year-old son with someone else. Chapter 8. I hadn't even reached the bridal shop when I heard a commotion. A crowd had gathered at the entrance, watching the spectacle. I didn't see it coming. No wonder we've never seen her husband. I knew it! A homewrecker like her deserves to die. Stop talking. She's here. My heart sank, and I walked forward to see Caroline. Before I could react, she slapped me. She used all her strength, and I fell to the ground. My ears were ringing, and my face burned with pain. I thought you were a decent person, but you're just a whore. Daring to seduce my husband. I'll teach you a lesson today. She grabbed my hair tightly, forcing me to look at her. I knew she must be hurting too, so I tried to speak gently. Lou, calm down. Let's talk. But she had no intention of letting me go, pressing me harder to the ground. I want everyone to know. You shameless third party. What right do you have to talk to me? Caroline's sharp nails scratched my face and arms. I was beaten until I was dizzy, instinctively protecting my stomach. Finally, people around us feared for my life and called the police, bringing an end to the incident. You know she's pregnant and still hit her. That's attempted murder. You know. Caroline pointed at me and cursed. A bastard born of a homewrecker. So what if she dies? She deserves it for being a third party. My clothes were torn, barely hanging on my body. I'm not a third party. I'm a victim too. I didn't know he was married. We've been married for 5 years, and I didn't know he had a wife. Hearing this, the police were stunned, their mouths agape, fearing they wouldn't believe me. I opened my phone's photo album to show them. These are our wedding photos, and photos from the banquet. I'm sorry. Lou, I called that day just to get my mother's bracelet back, not to pester him. I couldn't suppress the sour emotion in my heart any longer and spoke softly. This is the only thing my mother left me. I hope you can." Just as Caroline was about to speak, Mark suddenly arrived. Chapter 9. Caro, are you hurt? As soon as he walked in, he held Caroline in his arms, not sparing me a glance. "I'm fine. It's just that it's good that you're okay. I'll take you home." Mark interrupted her, his eyes finally landing on me. "I'm sorry for my wife's behavior today. My assistant will contact you regarding compensation." With that, he turned and left with Caroline without looking back. I collapsed to the ground, no longer expecting anything from him. My heart was completely shattered. After this farce, Mark sent me many messages from a different number. "I can only do this. Andrea, you have to understand my difficulties. Give me some more time. I will handle everything. Wait for me." But I didn't reply to any of them. I would no longer expect anything from him. I even thought this child might be a mistake. Chapter 10. In the following days, Mark didn't contact me, and I found peace. But online, it was a different story. Renowned painter Mark announces his relationship topped the trending searches. Everyone praised him and Caroline as a perfect match, and I became the target of various attacks from netizens. Someone uploaded the video of me and Caroline fighting in front of the bridal shop. My Weibo was flooded with messages from Mark's fans and righteous bystanders. "Does this homewrecker still have the face to live? Stop pestering Mark, will you? Do you think you're worth even a strand of Caro's hair?" I didn't care about these negative comments, thinking the hype would soon die down, but I didn't expect that when I had the abortion. Some netizens secretly took photos and uploaded them online. Mark's mistress went to get an abortion, along with high-definition photos of my face. Now, wherever I go, people recognize me. They claim they don't do business with homewreckers, and I can't even find a hotel to stay in. This has already affected my normal life. I have to do something. Chapter 11. Why did you abort our child? Come back. I still love you. I will divorce Caroline soon. Mark continued to persistently persuade me to return. But seeing these messages only made me feel disgusted. Soon it was the opening day of Mark's new art exhibition, attended by journalists and fans. He was chatting with the reporters when I threw the photos I had pre-printed into the air. He hid the fact that he has a wife and deceived me for 8 years. "I'm not a homewrecker. I'm a victim. He should pay for my child's life." The moment Mark saw me, he hurriedly called for security. But the exhibition was packed tightly with reporters and fans. I held a megaphone, voicing the injustice I had faced. When I found out Mark had a wife, I was ready to leave. But Mark kept entangling me. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Mark's face immediately changed as he shouted at me, "Stop spouting nonsense here. Security. Get this woman out of here." I anticipated this reaction and took out the printed chat records. Fans and reporters on site frantically took photos and discussed. The homewrecker turned victim? He even persuaded her to keep the child. Doesn't Mark have a wife and a child? Now he wants to ditch his wife after becoming successful? Look, there's Caroline. She looks livid. Tears streamed down my face as I faced the cameras. I'm innocent. I hope Mark can show mercy and give me a way out. Chapter 12. This incident quickly topped the trending searches, and netizens' attitudes reversed completely. Mark is such a scumbag, wants both this and that. I'm only interested in Caroline's thoughts. Will she still protect Mark? The issue rapidly gained widespread attention, eventually ending with Caroline and Mark publicly apologizing. I found a former friend of my mother and went to Paris, temporarily settling in her bridal shop. Andrea, long time no see. Are you back to continue studying design? Since you're here at Aunt Lynn's, I'll arrange everything for you. Back then, I willingly worked as a shop assistant in a bridal shop for Mark. But now it's different. I should fulfill my own dreams. Aunt Lynn took me to the room she had prepared, and I immediately started settling in. Just as I was about to take a break, I received a call from Mark. He sounded anxious. Andrea, I've divorced. We can be together again. Where have you gone? I can't find you anywhere. Don't you want to be with me again? Looking out at the fresh scenery, I replied calmly, no, I don't. I suddenly remembered when I first got together with Mark. I told him my dream was to wear a wedding dress I designed myself. He readily agreed back then. But when he proposed, we only took a few simple photos together. I never had the wedding that was meant for me. I should have realized then that he didn't love me as much as I thought he did. Mark, let's end this. His voice brought me back to reality. Andrea, how can you be so heartless? I've been working so hard, always trying to find a way. Now you tell me you want to give up? Do our 5 years of marriage mean nothing to you? Mark, don't you think your words are ridiculous? When did we have a marriage? When you lied to me, did you ever think of this day? Stop bothering me. Chapter 13. In the next few days, Mark didn't call again, and I finally had some peace. Every day I followed a routine, going back and forth between the bridal shop and home. Ding ding, a customer entered the shop, a man in a black leather jacket, about 6 feet 3 inches tall, with a clean buzz cut. Hello, can I help you with anything? Suits or casual wear? I quickly went to greet the customer. The manager will be back soon. You can. Just then, Aunt Lynn walked in, interrupting me. Andrea, this is my son Gabriel. Don't you remember? You used to always avoid him, never wanted to play with him, and he'd just cry. Gabriel, unbothered by the embarrassing story, extended his hand to me. Hello, Andrea. I'm Gabriel. I smiled and nodded at him. Hello. Through our conversation, I learned that he also studied fashion design and was my junior. Perfect. The new season's designs for the shop will be done by you too. Do your best. Soon, we were busy, with him handling the design sketches and me taking care of procurement and pattern making. Our relationship grew closer, and we became inseparable. One day after work, he stood at the shop door and asked me, Andrea, how long will you stay here? I don't know. If I find a new job, then I might. I didn't finish because I saw Mark behind Gabriel. No wonder you didn't answer my calls. You found a new lover so quickly? Mark's face was dark, and he walked straight toward me. I immediately stepped in front of Gabriel. What nonsense are you talking about? This scene seemed to infuriate Mark, and he began shouting. What did I say wrong? Aren't you just fooling around with him? Mark grabbed Gabriel by the collar and continued cursing. Do you know this is my wife? You dare touch her? Gabriel, not backing down, threw Mark to the ground with a judo move. Sorry. Has anyone ever taught you that attacking someone without reason can get you arrested? A fierce fight broke out, drawing a crowd of onlookers. Mark, stop this madness. We're over. My pent-up anger exploded in an instant. Chapter 14. Ignoring Mark's pleading eyes, I took Gabriel back to the clothing store to bandage his wounds. I'm sorry you got hurt for no reason. Is he really your husband? Gabriel asked with a skeptical smile. What? You don't believe me? That's not what I mean. If he really is your husband, you need to divorce him. He clearly has violent tendencies. I found Gabriel's puffed-up cheeks adorable and couldn't help teasing him. Divorce him and let you take his place? Gabriel's face turned red. I didn't mean that. Don't. He's not my husband. I interrupted him. I was with him, but he deceived me. He lied to me for 5 years. Already married to another woman and even had a son. Gabriel looked thunderstruck. Then why were you still with him? I wasn't. I broke up with him long ago, but he kept pestering me. After treating Gabriel's wounds, I sent him home. I needed to have a talk with Mark. As soon as Mark saw me, he hurriedly hugged me. I've filed for divorce from Caroline. Come back, and we'll register our marriage immediately. I'll give you the grandest wedding. I'll give you everything you want. Please forgive me. Mark's eyes were dark and his chin covered in stubble, looking nothing like his usual self. Who are you putting on this act for? We can't go back to how things were. Don't waste your efforts. I broke free from his embrace, but he grabbed my hand tightly. I'll do anything if you come back with me. I truly know I was wrong. Please, forgive me. Looking at Mark's reddened eyes, I spoke calmly. Mark, you should have anticipated this day the moment you deceived me. I've always wanted to ask, do you regret it? Andrea, I regret it. I truly know I was wrong. I still love you. I can't live without you. No, you only love yourself. And it's the same with Caroline. Both of us were unlucky to meet you. If you had any love for me or for Caroline, You wouldn't have done this in the first place. I truly regretted it. Regretted meeting Mark. And regretted loving him. But fortunately, I still have a chance to leave. Chapter 15. I thought my harsh words would drive Mark away. But to my surprise, he rented the house opposite mine and moved in. In the following days, he left breakfast at my door every morning and insisted on driving me to and from work. As if that could make up for his wrongdoings, though I ignored him every time. He seemed to enjoy it. Gabriel and I were busy with the new clothing line, often eating together. Every time Mark saw us, he'd storm into the shop angrily demanding answers. Usually, he and Gabriel would exchange a few words before Mark tried to get physical. But each time he did, I threatened to call the police, which eventually made him more restrained. One day, when I came home, I saw flowers and candles all over the entrance, and Mark standing in the middle of the road in a suit. I just want a chance to apologize properly. Andrea, I hope you can forgive me. Saying this, he knelt down and picked up a rose. If you are willing, we can still be like before. Travel together, cuddle on the couch watching TV. Those times were indeed wonderful, but that was in the past, wasn't it? If those beautiful dreams were built on lies and deceit, I would rather not have them. I interrupted him. I'm not willing. Stop doing these ridiculous things. I will never forgive you. Now, when I see you and everything you do, I only feel disgust. Mark's face turned pale, and he knelt on the ground, speechless. But I no longer wanted to watch this farce, so I turned and closed the door. A few days later, Mark knocked on the door, holding a suitcase, saying he was leaving. You don't need to tell me. It's your own business. I was about to close the door, but he blocked it. Andrea, is there really no chance for us? I didn't speak, just stared at him coldly. Wait for me. I'll come back for you. I won't give up. Chapter 16. 3 months later, I saw news about Mark and Caroline on my computer. It turned out that when Caroline couldn't find him, she pressured him through her father's company. But Mark didn't care about that at all. She had no choice but to threaten to jump off a building with their son if Mark didn't return, which forced him to go back. Upon returning, Mark held a press conference. He admitted that he had been with Caroline for fame and fortune while deceiving me at the same time. He announced his divorce from Caroline, his indefinite retirement from painting, and his intention to donate all his savings to charity. I was shocked by this news because he valued his identity as an artist the most. But Caroline refused to divorce and caused a scene daily in front of Mark's studio with many people. I didn't know what happened to them in the end, and I didn't care. After all, I had my own life now. Andrea, what are you looking at? I closed my laptop and looked up to see Gabriel nervously standing in front of me, holding a bouquet of flowers. Oh, what's the big occasion today? What are you planning to do? I smiled at him, pretending not to know anything. Gabriel blushed and confessed everything to me, saying he studied fashion design because of me. You had Mark by your side back then, but now you have me. I loved you before Mark did. I will make you happy. I hope you can give me a chance. This is a wedding dress I designed for you. I hope you like it. Following his gaze, I looked over. Under the spotlight, the crystals on the skirt of the wedding dress reflected dazzling lights, like a work of art. I've waited a long time for this chance. I really like it. Tears welled up in my eyes as I looked at him. Before Gabriel could finish speaking, I stood on tiptoe and kissed him. I do too. Mark's perspective, extra. Andrea left, taking nothing with her and even leaving behind the wedding ring. I was scared because Andrea had never treated me like this before. We had argued before, but she had never left without a word. This time, I really messed up. I truly hurt Andrea, and I had to find her and make things right. I hurriedly packed my luggage, but Caroline found out, and we had a big fight. Are you going to find that homewrecker? I immediately retorted, she is not a homewrecker. Don't talk about her like that. I was with you because I wanted to sell my paintings and make money, but the only person I love is Andrea. Caroline laughed mockingly. I was so stupid to think you loved me. Someone as cruel as you will never be loved by anyone. How hypocritical you are. You love her? If you loved her, would you treat her like this? You are ridiculous. Do you remember how you were back then? You were destitute, couldn't even afford food, and she was the only one willing to be with you. But what about you? I didn't want to listen to this lunatic anymore, so I slammed the door and left. I went to Paris again. I tried to find Andrea many times, but she refused to see me. But I believed that if I was sincere enough, Andrea would forgive me. Until the day I saw Gabriel proposing to her in the clothing store. I wanted to say something, but I held back, fearing I would make things worse. I heard Gabriel say, "I loved you before Mark did. I will make you happy. I hope you can give me a chance." Hearing this, I was stunned and recalled the scene when I proposed to Andrea. "Mark, will you be good to me forever?" "Of course, I will be good to you forever. I really regret it. If only I hadn't been blinded by profit back then. If only I hadn't been with Caroline. If only, but there are no ifs. Everything was because of me. I don't think I'll ever forgive myself."